Yeah. Maybe I should have washed my head. And I feel like there's something weird about it. Doesn't matter. I also don't think I like it there. I don't know why. Because I think maybe you should have to look up at me, right? So that's what happens. Talking from a high horse, okay? I mean, I'm serious about this. Sometimes not knowing what I'm supposed to do doesn't really matter. Oh, wow. Actually nice. Okay, I don't know, I had this idea where I thought I was supposed to, yeah, just have to let go of these things to free you. I mean, what's ethical, right? Wait, today's Saturday? All right. Well, there's a reason why I said I wanted to change things. And I have to a certain degree. Because I burnt my circuitry. I mean, that's why I constantly keep telling people, whatever you think psychedelics are, they're not that. I'm just saying they're not it. I mean, I'm just telling you, actually it's not the truth. Because even before I took any psychedelics, I had no interest in the things that most people are interested in. If I look back at my life, the way it started, I probably have to say that I was always a bit like this. I mean, I didn't really pay a lot of attention in school, you know, just let my mind wander. Only to a specific question such as, you know, what's the square root of whatever. You don't have much to say. And tonight I just had a dream about school again, which to me was one of the worst places in the entire world. And it was in fact partly school that made me want to do something else with my life. Because I was never allowed to do what I want. And then you could say, yeah, well, no. I'm saying if you make a choice and you work in a specific job, then that's your choice. So there's no point to go hating your life because you're the one that made the choices. And then you can say, yeah, well, but it wasn't my choice to, well, but it was. Because everything is a choice, man. And that's what some people don't get, right? They think, I mean, you choose this. And if you would be honest about it, you would choose it again. And that's usually how it goes. I mean, if you really reflect on everything that's happened in your life, and you come to the conclusion that where you are is exactly where you had to be, which is a really stupid perspective. I don't like that because why? I mean, why? You get it? Why should you have to be where you are right now? Well, that's then for you to figure out. I don't like these perspectives because they would allow me to get into this place, everything's perfect. But to me, not everything's perfect. Because I actually don't really like being alone. I mean, I like being alone if the alternative is being with people that are too sick with their own fear to understand what I'm trying to tell them. Because, after fear comes anger. And if you cannot lump your fears onto me, or your, this person just died, how terrible. And you're just like, well, that's life. There are people that get angry. People get angry if they can't control you. People get angry. And I say, it has nothing to do with coffee. Because there are people that drink coffee and then they relax with it. And then there are people that drink coffee that become really riled up. Or maybe they just say. I mean, if you have a motivational problem and you think that, just drinking coffee is going to take care of it for you, you will realize that, well, it does help certainly sometimes. But I just went through a couple of days without drinking coffee because I wanted to rile it back a little. I mean, I think we can all agree that at this stage, I have shown that I'm willing to put in the work. Now, the question that remains is, I mean, I've just been silent inside of here for an eternity. And how many people do you know that ever have to face that? I mean, this is home office, by the way. Some people like it, some people hate it. I realized I need this. Because if I don't have this, I cannot compete with the onslaught of art that is being produced by AI, which, by the way, really, I think it's disgusting. Because what art should be like is, not specifically like this, but, at least somebody putting in the work. And that to me includes making the sketch and then working on the image. I mean, what good does it? I mean, I've seen these things that people produce with AI. And all I can say to that is, it seems empty to me. And if you haven't realized it yet, believe me, you will. Now I have friends and they want to work with AI and they think, oh yeah, it's the next great thing. You know what the next great thing is gonna be? Exactly not what the masses want. Right? And that's, people just want to. I mean, if you can work with these AI things and you can still make content, maybe you don't like drawing or making sketches, but maybe you like writing stories. I mean, in a way, I get it. But I just like to stick with my own skill set. Right? I mean, sure, it's really hard to make a beat, like a real nice beat, and then make music with it. And then what? You're also supposed to play the instruments now? Yeah, sure, maybe. Why shouldn't you? I mean, I've made music just by fiddling around, and some of these songs, where I mostly used my voice, have come out really nice. I mean, I'm just saying it like really nice. And that's just something that to me is really liberating. I mean, right, really liberating. because I know I can make music if I want to. Only, I cannot play with the guitar for hours. But I can make music in the way that I'm making music. Which to me is very liberating. Because I know I can do it if I wanted to. And then you say, well, plus I've already done it. And nobody can tell me, right? Nobody can tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I've been listening to Ramdas again, the yogas of the Bhagavad Gita. And there's a story about Draupadi. This is coffee with cardamom. It's like sometimes my head looks bigger. It's like my head is too big for my shoulders. I think I'm turning back into a child now. Or is everyone like that? Okay, colors, threshold. Yeah, you could make this a bit smaller. Okay, you know what this does is, right, you see the difference? This was the original thing that and then I put it over white and then I merged them together. So it turns it into these kind of blocks, which means that I can select the white without the black much better. So that everything fits neatly, because if you take it like this, right, and you go in here and then you select this, what you realize is it's like that. If I take this away, okay, but if I select like this, you see, now it's on the inside, and that's what I want. It's not that hard. Right? I mean, you just have to play with it. And if you have shapes like this, I mean, you can just fiddle around. And then I mostly use this, and then I use the gradient and the fill tool, and then the scale, and then the fuzzy select. And then sometimes I have to use some of these, right? This is already in here, right? It's like pick the color. Okay, and now I have to think about, what colors do I want these things to have? Right? And that's your answer, right? There's like suddenly your color. And then as soon as I look at this, I already start seeing shapes. Like, if you would put an eye here, this would be a face. If you would put an eye here, then this would be the nose. And there's a question of whether or not you want to do that. I think it's nice if it just stays like that, because I've been putting a lot of work into my art. And right about now, I just want to work myself through them. It's not just the onslaught of AI, but it's also just wanting to show what a human can do that is devoted to art. I'm just saying, I'm very devoted to art. I love art. But what you can never forget is, it's a hell of a job. It's a hell of a job. I just spent 3 to 4 days where I was, not advertising smoking cannabis and just saying that I'm, occasionally smoking cannabis. And this was more like HHC, which here is illegal, is legal. Now I said illegal, but it's legal. I can buy it in a shop which is to me a fair amount of whatever. It's but it just gives me something to work with without having to go to a psychiatric practice, you know, to get medications, because I know how to do these things by myself. I mean, I just went through an insane kind of depression again, where I just could do nothing. Now, if I wouldn't have known how to deal with it, which is you're full to the brim with emotions, now how are you going to engage with that? Well, I can tell you, you do what you do, right? You know, I know how to deal with it because, okay, first things first. I want to create something okay. Think about it for a second. Okay, this needs a color before I continue. Now I'm just trying to let my feeling decide what color that is supposed to be. Now I'm settling on this, and I like it immediately. It's just, I mean, I like colors a lot. And now I just want to see. Okay, that's that. As soon as I finish the coffee, I want another one. I'm just saying, you know, this is how much it's not only me, I mean, there's other people that have this. It's like clinging to coffee, like insane. Okay, let me think about it. Okay, and sometimes I like to create shapes. Wow. See, I have never done this. Okay, see, this has to be different. Right, I want to keep this underneath. So, the first time I started working with these, well, you probably have to look at the world in color and then just look at the first video in the playlist and then ask yourself, you know, how did he start? Well, I started fairly simple, and I think they're still in there. You know, I'm really reluctant at the moment to continue with what I'm doing. And the easiest I can explain this to you with is, I don't know, I just feel an incredible amount of hatred. And I'm not saying this in a fuzzy, really nice kind of way. I'm just saying this in a, you know, that's how I feel like. I mean, that's just what I can tell you. Right, that's how I feel like. It's exactly how I feel like. Right, that's how I feel like. That's how I make art. I stand here and do what I feel like it's like. And that's you know, that's for me a better choice than to go around and to, I don't know, throw around stuff. I mean, I've just been going through the OC for some time. And there's this scene in the second season with Marissa. Hey, her mother is so stupid. I mean, her mother is so incredibly stupid. I mean, why do they have this kind of relationship? Why cannot the mother understand that the best way to engage with her daughter is by just leaving her alone? I mean, do you have to keep nagging? I mean, that's a valid question, is it not? Right? Do you have to keep nagging? Like, do you have to constantly nag? Like, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to keep bothering me with your weird, really weird ideas about how my life is supposed to be like? Right? Why do you have to keep nagging me? All the time? Well, I don't know. You know, I'm nagging people. You see, let's say you're a woman like Julie Cooper. You know, I'm working with these characters like they're real people because anyone exists. And if a movie script has been written, you know, what you can see, at least, right, from shows like this, is probably the idea. Okay, now I'm starting to get somewhere. Okay, this, I'm using the plasma, which always takes so much time. But that's just how it is. So I want to just take away the preview, because sometimes I just like to work with okay, and then I just want to go here, and then I just say okay. Then it can do this plasma, because I hate nothing more. You know, okay, hate is a very strong word, but to just stare here at the screen. You know, I'm just trying to see what this image is about, and I have learned to see in a three-dimensional way. Okay. Now question is, okay, I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to press Control A. And then I'm going to say repeat plasma. All right. You know, I've just done that. I just said repeat plasma. Now he's going to draw the same pattern over this one. Okay, you're still following me, I know that. Right, it's again taking ages. Okay, now I'm going to clearly, because my laptop's RAM, like the computing power of this machine is fairly negligible. Well, it can do what I'm doing with it, and I actually like it that way. Because if it, you know, I could buy a 2,000 euro, whatever. Okay, at this moment I probably couldn't. But I mean, you could if you wanted to, is what I'm saying. I mean, you could. Okay, now I'm gonna do this. Because I just want to see how to position. Yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. That's okay. Okay, first thing, I have never done it like this. This is something new. So I go and I say distorts and I say kaleidoscope. You know, I have played around with these filters a lot, right? Some of them I don't yet really know. There I need the preview for sure. Okay, the zoom. You know, this turns whatever image you have underneath into a kaleidoscopic thing. So if you zoom out, you know, which means a kaleidoscope is basically something that is concentric. So what I want is this. I like the 6. I don't have to do 6 is the number of creation, if you know anything about numbers. And now you can ask yourself, where do you want the center of this image to be? Is it perfect like this? Should it be in the center or should it be there? And the answer gives itself for whatever reason. Now you can check here, check. Now you have to see, okay, what happens if I make this, okay, I wanted it to be here. Now I can actually hold my finger there and I realize, okay, and I just want it to go down. Okay, it's still going down, still going down. Because the Y is this axis, this, you know, the up and down axis. Okay, I'm almost there. You know, why down there? Because my feeling says so. Right now it would be probably easiest to keep it in the center, but the truth is, I like to draw the attention away from the center because that's where your empathy can be rediscovered. I mean, if you are, like everyone else, a concentric build, right? Where you only think about your own needs. So, you know, Marissa Cooper is exactly like her mother. And it infuriates her mother because she can't control her. And she wants to control Marissa because she's trying to hide where, oh, this is becoming more and more complicated the more you think about the characters in the show. And that's why, to me, at the moment, watching the OC is a complete revelation. I mean, this show is blasting my mind by how well it has been made. But at the same time, of course, it's a fabrication. And now what you can see is, I'm just going to show you, there's a face. There is a face. There is a face. These are eyes. This is a mouth. Where does this come from? There is the face again, of course, because it's concentric and it evolves around itself. And there are reoccurring things. Now it's the question of whether you label these faces as, oh my god, it's so scary, or if you simply say, it's a face. I mean, what more is there to say about it than it's a face? You could also say it's a phase. And that's also what I have. I mean, I have phases in my life where I do certain things. Wow. I mean, just look at that. I mean, just seriously look at that. I took the same image that I just created. The only difference is I put the center off center. And then I do the same thing. And suddenly it looks different, right? And that's basically what I've realized about myself. Now I want this to be here, right? And why do I want it to be here? Right? This time I'm not gonna hold my finger on the, you know, you didn't really see that. Well, you did, possibly. Wow, I mean, that looks incredible. Actually, on second thought, wow, I mean, look at this. You know, I was listening to Ramdas and he was in that position where he said, it's this, the yogas of the Bhagavad Gita, I have it somewhere in my content, and he just, this is so liberating. I mean, I was stuck on I can't talk because, you know, that's what it is. I love it because this in here just fits perfectly. Okay. You know, sometimes you just have to say, let's just leave it, just for the sake of, you know, seeing what will come out of it. If I let go of control and simply let my feeling decide, you know, that's where this thing is supposed to be. Now, what I try to do is actually, okay, we can check now, desaturate mono mixer, right? If you use the mono mixer, which I prefer, well, I don't really know what preserve luminosity does, right? You can check, because maybe I want the shapes, I mean, this is the next best thing to having sex, you know, after playing Frisbee, of course. If you find someone, I mean, just look at that. Now you can check what does preserve luminosity does, right? I want these shades of gray in there. And I'm just gonna go through with it like this, because that's what I had in mind. Okay, now I'm gonna take this one out. This one, I also want to do something with this. I want to say hue saturation, and now I want to change the hue. Okay. I want what's now pink, right? This is pink. I want it to be red. How do I do that? I just focus on the one that I just selected, and then I look for red. Now this is red, isn't it? And then this should come out red. And then I say, okay. You get it? I mean, that's how simple this is after. Okay, and now what I want is, I want to put something on top. I want to say filters, I want to say light and shadow, I want to say supernova. Okay. I want the supernova to come, actually, wait. See, now it's getting more difficult, but that's where it wants to be. You cannot make too many. Now this, I want it to be red, but less bright. Now what I often don't like is actually the white. Now I could say random hue, and then it would turn out like this. And I like that to a certain degree. But I have a problem with too many bright colors. Which is why if I do it like this, and then I turn it around, this will be black, and the, you know, let's just show. Colors, invert. This will be green because it's the, you know, what's the opposite? The compendium. Okay, let's, you know, let's just see. And now I can just, okay. Right, I can add something like this, and then there's suddenly a black hole. But I can also keep flashing through. I mean, this looks different again. This is actually quite nice, because it makes this look like more like a background. And then there's this. And for some reason it says okay. And now I just want to see. I always have to clear this, and then I save it. And then you check, okay, today is really Saturday. And now you just have to find something. Okay, this is not what I want. What I want is this. Exactly. First, and don't ask me why. You know, it's really easier to not ask me why. Desaturate. Now I'm using colors to gray. Enhance shadows. This is just increasing computing speed. Samples. If you increase these, what happens if you increase the radios? What happens if you, okay, this is what I wanted. Only to actually go and do it, okay, I'm just gonna leave it like this because it always takes some time to render through it. Because what I wanted was to create shapes and make them like, they call it a bump map, which is you have a layer. You know, this is how I started actually with these images. I took pictures and then I merged it with stuff that I made on the computer, which gives it this kind of, you know, digital art is often like, you know, super perfect. But because I take pictures of sketches that I make off screen, okay, for whatever reason, I like it that way. Because I don't know what's gonna come out of this. And, you know, I think, you know, I deserve this, you know, just a little bit of confusing stuff. You see, I bring in this thing. If I take it out, you know, it can highlight things. Okay, this to me now is a little bit confusing because I'm not sure. I think what I should do first, okay, that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm first going to do something out of these. Okay, this has to be normal. So then when I start doing this, you know, it turns into this. And then I want to see what happens. Okay. And now if I turn away all of these, you know, sometimes you just have to go through it bit by bit, you know, because to me, what's it really matter? I just like doing art. And now I take this away. You know, I can't say that I have done it like this an awful lot. All I can say is that this is how you can do it. Now, these also need to be merged into one. You see, this is pretty random stuff. I mean, you could say, well, you probably practiced that, and then I could say, maybe. How would you know? Well, you wouldn't. And that's exactly the point. I mean, that's what I like about letting go. You know, it doesn't have to be my concern. You know, why am I doing this? Because I chose to. Why did I choose to do this? Because I realized certain things and I said to myself, maybe life could be a bit different. I mean, maybe I can make a recording and just say, hey folks, I have to go to the bathroom, right? I have to go to the bathroom. And because you know, this is color selector. If I'm on this layer, I know this is white because I've made it, right? I can click into this and then I can add pattern, checkerboard. No. I can add filter, render, pattern, grid. But now in order to see, I mean, I could do this blind. I want this to be bright red. And it's probably better to take these off so I can actually see what I'm working on. Say line width, increase, this has to be like that. This has to be 22. And this has to be a bit bigger. I mean, I'm always working with numbers that I like. Okay. Now I can make it that it's almost okay. And then you can go and say white again. Okay. And then you can say gradient tool. And it just brings in, I don't know, I had green in mind, right? And it's not perfect, and that's what I like. I don't like. And that's just as easy as I can make it. I don't like AI. Because I'm missing the human that's suffering through it. And that doesn't mean that, you know, it's not there. It just means that I'm missing it. You know, to get from one thing to the next. And that's just my entire point, you know. I like doing these things because this now, just look at this, how many layers are there? And all I had to do was put these things over each other and then just create something entirely different. And you see how many variations there are to whatever this is, you know. I can just keep going through these things and just see how it changes. And that to me is a much better occupation than sitting around and feeling miserable about life and all of these things. And it's certainly still part of the challenge. Because if I can keep doing what I like, right, without others being able to distract me from it, you know, now I have a problem because I actually like the one already. But that's then the thing. You know, this actually looks a bit more the way I would say you know, dodge. There's a problem I have with dodge. This was burn. This was linear burn. This is burn. You know, all I can say is I actually kind of like it. This is also really nice. Then I feel I have to change something here still. I don't know, I just think I just have to like what I'm doing. And I can like it. Like really like it. But I also could talk myself into hating it. And that's probably the difference between me and a lot of other people. Wait a second. I thought I put this on top, but I did not. So now I'm just looking for what I think is the best impression of what I'm feeling at the moment. I mean, this looks good. Now I just have to figure out what kind of okay, do I want it to be a bit more sparkly? Do I want it to be a bit more, you see? Suddenly it's an entirely different image. And you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, wait a second, that just come out of me? I mean, did that just come out of me? Like, where did it come from? You know, did I do this? You know, or, you know, if not, then who told me to do it? You know, if it wasn't me, then who was it? And will I be able to do it again? Well, that's probably one of the hardest questions out there. And then, what does it even mean? I mean, that's a very valid question as well. I mean, what does it mean? I mean, what is he trying to express with this? Well, that's a really nice question, you know. Well, what I'm expressing with it is, here, I'm doing this, right? Here, look at me, right? I'm doing this. You know, I'm doing this. And then you can say, well, who else is doing it? You know, Chris Webby is one of them. And now I have to really quickly go to the restroom. is a question of how much you can stretch. Right, sometimes you just need to meet certain people simply because, I don't know, was that a coincidence? I certainly think, I mean, it's getting cold and I'm just standing around here, which is why, you know, I can just make myself feel comfortable so that while I'm standing here, you know, that's now the weird part of making art like this. You know, if you realize I don't like any of these. Like I hate this image. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I really don't like this image. And I often have it, like I really have it very often, that I simply hate the images that I'm supposed to make. And this is supposed to be something, right, that is really, really nice. And then you realize how much you hate it. And, right, it actually pains me sometimes to feel how much hate there is inside of me. And so all you can do is just accept and then work through it. And I do have certain habits, so I say dodge, I say multiply, I say darken. And now the question is, how long do you want to maintain these habits? Because if I choose a different one, I had difference, right? Difference in my mind. Difference. Okay. And I can turn on this. And then all kinds of things. I mean, you don't expect anything. Right? That's what you're trying to do. You try to not expect anything. And this feels about right. Can't say why, can't say how. And then you can fiddle a little bit with it, or you just say, okay, that's it. Okay, I can still see what else is there. Do I like the colors? How do the shapes come out? You know, everybody's different. I learned at some point that you just have to let go of things. But I don't know why he just rang my bell. I don't know. You see, what are these messages? I don't know. But I hear him. What the heck, man? I know, this looks about right. I don't know, would you understand how I feel if I would never tell you? Would you understand how I feel if I would never tell you? Well, you could. If you paid attention and listened. To what is being said within my spirit. Right. And now ask yourself, I misinterpreted my visions. A lot of people do that. I don't know, I just want to leave it like this. I don't have to take this, what I'm doing now. But there are people who misinterpret visions and they walk around like they know. I meet these people all the time. Right, I have met these people. They come and they tell me, you know, I had a vision. You know, I had a woman tell me she had a vision. She would call me, you know, and I would work at the place where she's working or where she used to work. You know, I have no idea because I simply let go of her. Because if somebody's deluded, because I said to her, I will never do that. And she still thought she was right. You know, I said to her, I would never do that. But she thought, you see what this changes? You could say not much, but it changes a lot. And if somebody tells me they have a vision, but they do nothing to bring it about, so I would say, if you have a vision, you either have the balls to turn it into reality, or you just leave me alone with your vision. Right? That's just my perspective. That's my perspective. So she never called me. And the question is of whether if she would call me now, how would I react to it? The problem is, if you are in love with a woman, that doesn't mean that you are like, oh, I love you so much. That's just like, I acknowledge that you have the ability to make my life a living hell. So I'm gonna make sure you will never be able to do that. Right? That's a very important factor in my life. You know, I've had women tell me things and they were all just words and they were just deluded and they had no idea what was going on. And, you know, I started to really sniff people out. I mean, I've had women where I wanted to know, you know, is she good for me? And because I meet women and they're just hiding the truth about themselves. Like they want to act like, you know, I'm yours. Because there is, between man and women, there is an opposite. And what I learned is that women can hide themselves just by, you know, focusing on something inside of them. And the question, of course, is whether what they try to show me is actually there or if it's a fabrication. Because it might be, I mean, this is really hard to understand if you've never thought about these things. And that's this kind of knowledge, you know, when I'm standing here, I start feeling sick. And I keep feeling like that all the time. I mean, just like, and then I have to breathe, but I don't want to because it's effort, you know. And that's where I say, well, if you have a vision, but you fail to tell me about it, then what good is the vision, right? If you have a vision, but you fail to tell me about it, then what good is the vision? And if you have a vision and you give me a call and you say, hey, there's a space open, I mean, I told you once I would call you, and here I am. Well, then what am I supposed to do about it? Right? Am I supposed to accept? Am I supposed to accept? Or am I supposed to reject? Because I cannot manifest the vision for you, because it's your job to do that. It's your job to do that because you see, I don't know where anyone is. I just say, I think I don't care. You know, I don't know if there's people that actually have to go through therapy because they met me. Or maybe having met me is the nicest thing that ever happened to them in their lives. You know, how would I know that? You see, this is just routine to me. Making art is not really, I mean, right. Making art can turn into a routine. And that's what it turned out to be for me. And then you can say, you know, isn't that hell? You know, isn't that hell? Well, it certainly could be. I'm just gonna upload. You know, that's the challenge also. See, I could adjust my pace of posting on Instagram to the public, but I do it different. I mean, I do it different. I simply keep posting, although there seems to be, right, people don't seem to be overly concerned with what I'm doing, or so it seems. So I just leave little sentences and things like this for other people to follow me deeper into these states of bliss. Raw art exhibit number. You know, I love it like this. Hiding in the forest. You know, that's the truth for someone. Because I know that you're a coward. And I know that your vision was bullshit. Plus, the question is there still a possibility, or was you saying that just a decoy? And I say, I have risen from the deepest depth of being a coward. And that's the truth. Comma, because I challenged myself in nature. And I say, try me. I say, try you. Try me, try you. Be true. You know, it sounds so simple, but to actually know this, you know, to say it and because you know it in the depth of your heart is probably one of the toughest challenges that I have yet found. You know, it's a profound thing, truth. Profoundly confusing. Okay. And some of it I don't actually get it. Okay. Because now what I have in mind, you know, I don't really want to show you everything. But there's a part of me that really wants to. I mean, look at this. This was my previous thing. And that has to go now. And now I'm here. Because I realized that, you know, I just want to smoke. It's true. I really want to smoke. But how could I at the moment? You see, this I actually want to change. But sometimes it's super hard. You know, I really like this one. It's not exactly that one, it's... Well, that's a bit too small. And when I made it, I really liked it. It's of course the cover of one of my books. Okay, now I have this image. And there's... I don't know, just for that. Yeah. But you just have to remember okay. Okay. You know, it just says, you know, that's better. I don't even know why it says that. It just says that's better. Right, and now what I could do is I could say hue saturation, and then I try to get the green. Okay, where is the green? Let's check. To be red, and then you say nope. You know, that's a clear nope. No, I just want it to be like this. You know, sometimes you just want it to be easy. Right, that's it. You know, that's basically the choice I made. Right, when I'm looking, you know, when I was looking for a woman, and I said, you know, I want this to be easy. And you could say, maybe it was. And then again, it wasn't. And who's Watson? Okay, so apparently I have to say select invert. You just keep painting in red. Right. See, I cannot just talk all the time. So if I continue, I suddenly feel better. It's every time like this. Every time. If I continue, I suddenly feel better. Which means what I have to do is apparently I have to work myself through these emotions. Sweet. Okay. You can say just when things started to get better. Just when things started to get better. You feel like they just start to get worse. Is that actually happening, or are you just projecting? Your fear. It's like, what's good weather? I mean, what's bad weather? Well, what is any of this? And now you can integrate this and create something that hasn't been there before, simply because you took the time to do something with this. And then you realize sometimes you just do random stuff. And because you let go of, how you think everything has to be, suddenly things are different. And that's all you can say. Right? Suddenly things turned out to be different. And you're still not sure whether you like it or not. And that's then simply still your own choice. Some people simply have been born, let's call it dirt poor. Right? And I just put it in here. It says now Insta profile, export, okay. And it's sufficiently big mean, there are simply some really hard-earned truths that you will never understand unless you really dig for these things. I mean, I'm just saying, there are things you can't just get out of doing nothing. I just keep looking at, that's the problem actually when I have internet, that I want to check how many followers I get. And that's a problem because it keeps me away from simply making more things. And that's a fact. Which is why, oh yeah, that's something I wanted to check. Okay, the world in color. Just make sure it doesn't load it. Another painting. Okay, that's apparently where I started. Okay, I'm just gonna turn off the hotspot. Oh, 6%. Right, it's like you've got that friend. Let's just assume that there is a friend in your life. Crazy actually that Instagram is such a black background. But I really think it I really like changing these things on my Instagram page. You just add another image, right? You just add another thing. And then suddenly it's a little bit different. Oh wow, that's an interesting concept. Right. Sometimes you just think, wait, does it really have to be super complicated? No. If you love each other, I mean, do you have to shout and cry? Can't you just say, hey, I don't know why, but I like you. Right? And if you don't get that, that's like that movie, maybe he's just not that into you. I mean, if you don't get it, that the guys who want to fight with you, they actually try to be your friends. Yeah, but the question is, how much would they take the fight? I mean, I meet people who are so desperate for a win that I'm not sure how far they would push it. I mean, how far would they push it to see who's stronger? And that's also one reason why I am going to hide. Because I want to give people the chance to show me that they can be different. Because when I met them, they were clearly in a bad place. And then I did my work. which means I spend time with them and I dealt with, you know, their aggression, and I try to be patient, but then sometimes they just go too far. And there's of course the question of whether you can actually go too far. I mean, let's say you're in a sexual encounter, or, you know, this sexual thing with a woman, right? Where we, you know, have sex with each other. And this woman is opening up to you, and let's say she's lying in front of you, and suddenly she says to you, "Choke me." Now the question is, would you do it? I've had women ask me, but the truth is my heart wasn't really in it. I mean, if I've met women that were really into this. You see, I have a lot of intuitive knowledge, but nobody tells me that I have it. They just listen to me and then they make use of me. Cannot really do anything about that at this stage. Right, because nobody gives you shit. You have to figure out the stuff that you learned from others simply by going back in your memory and then ask yourself, what were the teachings of the encounters you had with other people? So I'm not quite sure. I'm just really honest about this. If a woman would say to me, "Choke me," I'm not sure if I should do it. Well, if she says it, and the question is she saying this because she's testing my strength? Because if she says, "Choke me," then the next thing she would say would probably be, you know, "Let's have a threesome." And, you know, that's the next stage of, you know, you have to understand how women are. They want to know if you can be trusted with being the father, right? They want to know, is this guy up for the task? Because, you know, I'm gonna go insane, right? I need a guy who can make sure that I bring my child up and raise it, and that he's gonna be there. You know, that's one way. Because a woman is perfectly fine. I mean, women can raise their children on their own. You know, they have shown this. They don't need a man. But a man could certainly spice up things, just as a woman could spice up your life. And I already would say, I already found the woman that I like. And I'm just basically waiting until she's ready. And now you can say, well, that's like, who are you betting on? Well, you have to let me decide that. Because you have no choice in this. I mean, I feel like I had no choice in this. And there are teachings that I receive, although she's not here. But she is in a non-corporal, right? I've decided you have to be my husband. You know, I'm really honest about this. This is how it was like. You know, I said at one stage, I'm just gonna do what I do, right? When I go somewhere, I'm just gonna show, you know, this is what I have to offer. You know, what do I have to offer? Well, honesty, right? Work. You know, I can work. I can do things. And I said, if there's a woman, you know, you're gonna get truth right in the face. And if you don't know how to deal with it, well, then find someone else. And I've had women in my, or in their beds, or in my bed. But I just said, you know, until here and no further. And some of these women, they just didn't manage, right? They wanted me to pick them, but that just bored me. It bored me so incredibly that I simply said, you know what? Why don't you pick me? And then I realized, you know, some women, you know, I spent time with them. We were in bed. I just turned them around. All I wanted to have was a sniff. Because I can smell out something, but sometimes I have to get to you. And so what I did was I sniffed actually, you know, her private parts. And that's all I had to know. It smelled unclean, you know, it smelled unclean. And when it smells unclean, you know, there's something weird going on. Because women can act like, oh, I'm super sexy. I've met these women. I'm just saying, you know, they just like sit around and they read some books and then they act like they're these highly spiritual, you know, whatever, you know, I'm the best thing that could happen to you. Yeah, you know, I think I'm the worst thing that could happen to you. And because I live my life like this, you know, I'm a calamity. If you invite me into your life, you better be prepared because this won't be easy. You know, you cannot tame me. I've had women that tried to tame me that thought they were in control until they realized this guy is uncontrollable. I mean, sorry, but you thought, I mean, I'm just gonna say, you think my parents pay my apartment simply because they just like me? No. They cannot control me. You know, I'm just gonna make this as easy for you as I can. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I'm here for a reason. And if you want to know what that reason is, you can support me, right? You know, you can donate money if you like. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do anyway. Because if you don't help me, you know, somebody else will. And that's when my father started to realize, oh wow, I think this kid has something going for him. You know, how is he supposed to know what that is? Well, he doesn't, because he cannot see me in the way that I see myself. Simply because, you know, everybody is the way that they are. And what parents have to understand is that there are things that they can learn from their children, because there's nothing more sickening than somebody who's, I don't know how old, that is trying to maintain this position of, I know what's going on. You know, that's like science. Because science does it, everybody does it, because we think, you know, because we do science, we know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody. believe me, knows what's going on. Everybody's just pretending. I have no idea what's going on. And that's why I make art, because it's what makes the most sense to just try to express it. But it makes no sense. And it certainly won't make me last for eternity, because, I mean, let's be rational about this. How long do you think the internet is going to exist? Well, it probably will exist for quite some time, but let's say the internet will leave. Do you think this art will continue to exist? Well, it's possible, but it's also likely that at one point it will just vanish because it's meaningless. I mean, whatever I do, to me, it's actually meaningless. I'm just doing it because I'm still here. That's the reason why I continue. If I would not wake up tomorrow, then there would be no me that would feel like doing this. And the only reason I'm still doing this is because I'm still here. And people don't get that. People think, I don't know what people think. They want to stop. And I get it. It's a drag. I mean, it's a drag for me as well. It's a drag. You could say there's a part that hates my life. I just want to leave. But there seem to be people that don't let me. And I don't like that. I don't like feeling like I'm being controlled. But if somebody holds on to the idea that this guy is my husband, and they're very strong in their belief, and they say he's my husband, yeah, I mean, they're really holding on to you. I mean, that's just part of the challenge, to simply say, wait, is this now a root, or is this the root? That's then my choice. I could make, but yeah, it continues here, so okay, that must be the root then. The root of all problems. The reason I'm still here is because there are people who believe in me and my existence. If they would have stopped believing, then you would not see me standing here. And that then the question of, okay, how do we turn, what's a god? Or what's worship? If millions of people are watching my content, makes me, a lot of people believe in me. And that's then what I would call worship. And for a long, long time, the only thing people would believe in was basically the state. Because the state manages to, because they have the finances and they have enough people believing in the existence of the state, right? They basically manage to outshine everyone else. Well, they haven't made their bet with the internet. I mean, you have to see this from the perspective of the people that allowed this to happen, because they actually funded it, the internet. They didn't know what this was going to be. They probably thought, oh wow, let's just see, we can communicate, learn to communicate differently. Whether they think of it in terms of propaganda, well, that's fairly hard to say, because I don't think it's the way to simply say, the state is evil or something, because they also keep us alive, right? I mean, that's a point you have to admit. However much you think you hate something, maybe it's the hatred for this thing that keeps you alive. I just like to dislike other people's bullshit. So when somebody continues to send me angry messages through spirit, you know, and that's just having angry thoughts, then all I have to do is, you know, just shoot them back. And that's what I do. You know, I just say, leave me the fuck alone. If I hear these messages, I just say, leave me alone. And then I say, I have no need for you in my life. You know, if you want to be like this, I mean, I've spent time with people where I gave them the chance to change. And then they were in my presence, and we just went through a hell of a night. And it was raining, and I was with, you know, something between a girl and a woman, you know. And you already know if somebody's a girl, if you call them a girl and they get angry about it, then you just know, okay, this person's phony. If you say girl to someone and then they get angry, you already know you hit a point. Like, I mean, a real point. A real point. And then you can ask yourself, how am I supposed to deal with this? Because I thought I was dealing with a woman, and then this woman turned out to be this little puny girl. Well, I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? All you know is you don't know anything, right? Unless you know how to chill. Chill! Wait, who was that? Chill? Oh yeah, that's from a Chris Webster song. I just like, you know, using colors that make absolutely no sense. Because who's to say, I mean, maybe from a different perspective, you know, maybe owls are actually insane, right? I mean, they just sit around, woo, woo, and then they feel like, I want to kill something, you know, I want to blast my talons into the flesh of this animal, right? I mean, it's weird enough to have such a perspective. And then the question is, well, to what degree can you actually keep having that perspective? I mean, this says, let me breathe. Yeah, I want to smoke. And then I do not. And then I do not. And you can say, am I still here for the reason that I thought I was going to be here? Oh, nice. Nice! You see, I don't think I really mind just being a bit weird. conical. Ah, it's so conical. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. You see, what's the color have to do? You know, just accept it. But also make sure that you know, sometimes I just think golden would just do the trick. And however much I tried, cool. Cool, well on the bill. That guy knows how to chill. That guy knows how to chill. That guy knows how to chill. Oh boy, do I suppose he does not. I suppose he does not know how to chill. And that's true as far as true will get ya. What's this? Ink tool? What is this? Oh wow. What the fuck? It says smooth stroke, sensitivity, shape. Cancel. Size angle, size tilt speed. The fuck, man. You see, suddenly a whole new world opens up where you can make really irregular shapes. Smooth stroke. Increase the weight. Okay. I'm just saying, in that sense, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense, young Padawan. Okay, and then you go and you just... Yeah, and then you go back to brown. You say, okay. You just want to, you know, create layers, right? And then just work on your patience. Of course, if you have a giant computer, all you want is to, because this just gives it a bit more depth, right? So if you know how to brew it, okay, I claim to know how to brew ayahuasca. But who are you to choose this? I think it has to choose you. So you cannot claim to know anything. Right, I mean, I just think I could do it because I know how to cook. I know how to cook, which means I know how to do this thing. But people don't believe in me. Or maybe I did not believe in myself. But I have asked for instructions, and I feel like I have been denied these. And, you know, I don't quite know why. You can say, well, because you were too much of a hothead, right? Nobody can teach you anything if you don't want to listen. And I don't want to listen, right? I don't want to listen to what people have to say because they're speaking from the wrong place. Right? And what's the wrong place? Well, wrong for me. Because if you want to be my teacher and you want to pass on what you learned, well, then you better know. Like, really know. You know, it's not enough for me to simply, I mean, a good teacher has to also be able to understand where the student is coming from. He has to understand the background. So if you've been raised in, you know, different circumstances, like, I don't know, you know, I don't want to learn from you because I'm just gonna think, okay, this is really boring, right? So the reason I left all of you behind was because you started to annoy me. Because if you don't know how to let go, then this is just going to be really tedious for me. Because I will leave at some point, right? But I don't know when. All I know is that I will leave. And if that keeps me from spending time with me, well, then you don't understand the first thing about life, which is we are all going to leave. The question is, you know, can you know that and still spend time with me? And then some people will say, absolutely not. You know, I'd rather remember who you are and keep you at a distance because I think, you know, spending time with you would be too painful. Well, I think that's a very stupid perspective. Because what's the point? You know, if somebody exists and you like them, then, you know, what do you know about me? How could you know ever how long I'm going to be here for? Well, the truth is you cannot. know how long I will be here for. All you can know is that I'm here right now. And I'm the manifestation of something, right? I'm the manifestation of that's me. And if you spend your life in fear of, me leaving, then that's what you're gonna get. Because that's the law of attraction, which is very simple. Simply, now I take the color select tool and I select and then answer the question. Okay, I'm going to take this color and I don't know why I like this for this one. And now I want to answer the question. What is the question? What is the question? If you like me, then you will answer the question. What's the question? Okay. Right, people are so dishonest. They cannot even answer the simplest thing. Because maybe they're afraid to lose it. And I don't know how to trust you. I don't know how to trust people that don't know how to trust themselves. Right? I mean, sure. I thought about inviting people to my home. But then I don't want to do it because I don't have what most people think there should be in a home, right? I don't have chairs. What I have is a place. And I'm not sure how much I should allow people to be in here, or if I should just maintain this kind of, you do you, I do me. So could you know? Hey, now it looks like he turned the light on. You see, this is exactly me. This is specifically me. How could you copy this? How could you leave it to AI to show what you have inside of yourself? I don't understand it. What I understand is that, I have no desire to hide, but I know how to. I mean, I was just sitting on the toilet, and then the doorbell rang. I just like, I'm just gonna say, like, barely cleaned myself up. And then I rushed to the door and I opened. And then there was somebody. And Mr. Somebody, like, he clearly rang my bell on purpose. The question is, why did he do that? It sounded like he wanted a blessing. It makes no sense, but how it used to be like a holy person, you're just going to use that word and you have to get used to it. A holy person would live in seclusion of the outside world and of society and charge themselves up with cosmic energy because they live in a state of meditation. They distance themselves. You know, I'm like a modern monk. I do my pilgrimages to certain places, and most of the time I stay here, and then I go to nature and I pray here, and I do so in silence and by using my words because I have found a place within myself and I speak from that place, and that place then is truth. And that place then is basically a manifestation of, you know, my beliefs, standing here, talking in a certain way, presenting myself to the outside world and saying, you know, this is what I have to give. And now I can call it like this, the image. I can say this is what I have to give. And then you say export. You take up the compression just to make the file look really big. Because I don't know if these are going to be used for something. You see? I don't know. It's actually possible that there's a reason why I keep these things. You know, I mean, Instagram, the quality of the images on Instagram is not good enough to do anything else with it. That's what I think. And so I could have said, I'm gonna do this in a specific way. Like, I'm gonna do this in a way that says, I was going to do this in a way that says, you know, I think I can really do this. You know, I can really do this. I haven't met anyone else that can do this. But I do it. Right? I do it. Why do I do it? You know, why does anyone do anything? It's simply what I thought I can do. And I proved, right? It's not enough to say I can do this, you know, because if I would have just said to my parents, you know, I can do this, then they would have said, well, good job, you know, I don't see it. But I simply kept doing it. And then I can call an image like I simply kept doing it. You know, raw art exhibit number, you know, whatever. And that makes no sense. That will never make sense if I haven't had, you know, if I didn't drink the coffee, I'm almost certain I couldn't have done this. And possibly if I wouldn't have eaten the meat, I probably couldn't have done this. So I was always pretty adept at, you know, I don't sometimes, you know, I have an insane pace, but today I have the feeling I may actually go to the park. And that's liberating. But there's still the me that's not so sure about, wow, this I really like. Right? Oh, you don't see it, but I'm looking at my Instagram page. It looks swell, if you want to call it like this. I think it looks really nice. Like, really nice. Like, really nice. Now that says, this is what I have to give. So I have this routine that helps me. This is what I have to give. I could say had, but I don't need to. Because I can call myself a concept artist because that's what I do. I do concept art. I have concepts in my mind because I keep using my mind to understand what I'm doing and what is happening around me so that I know where my place is right now so that I can funnel energy into something specific without getting killed or being injured. And that's a challenge that not many can do. Cosmic intervention, you know, that's a concept. Who's intervening where? I have intervened in more lives than you can remember at this point. See, it makes no sense. You know, what I write, I have intervened in more lives than you can remember at this point. Does this scare you? I say it might liberate. It might liberate you if you manage to disassociate yourself from your ideas about what is going to happen in the future. Every time I think I know, I feel that it is better to let go of what I think I know, because ignorance is bliss in some ways. I also had to let go of the teachings of others because I am here now while Ramdas is only a memory trapped in I like to hide certain things for a reason. Because I simply have to say, most of the stuff that I'm making, I mean, you have to understand how this works. Oh wait, how is this called again? I simply kept doing it. You find the truth. And that's just the hard thing to realize, that there are people who are gifted and who can just keep producing art and that need no AI to do anything. And that may, you know, be a hard lesson for you, because, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you see someone making art So I don't really take orders from anyone. That's just what I chose. And I didn't think that actually talking would make this much more interesting. I have now 2056 portrayals of my art, of myself. And that's what I think you just have to understand. At some point, okay, now this is strange. This, okay, size. It doesn't do much, but I still like it. Oh. Wait, what does it say? Oh, how cute, he's trying to... Somebody re-rang my bell. I just don't know how to react to that. Because it was clearly showing that he rang my bell. What I don't know is why. Right. Right. So there are people that are just, you know, stuck in lying about everything. And the question is why? It's like Marissa Cooper, right? Just that character. It's actually nicer to just use other characters, because I could use or keep using family members to explain to you what I'm going through. But maybe at this stage it's better to not keep doing this, because it makes me feel like really rotten to talk about people. But at the same time, I don't really matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Everything I say here about any character, you know, it could be anyone. It could be my grandma, it could be a random old woman on the streets. Right? That's just simply the way it is. But anything could be anyone. And I don't know who I will meet tomorrow. And I don't know who I will meet today. And I don't know if there's people that would invite me for anything. And if they would, you know, I don't actually know if I would go there. So anything is a choice. Anything is whatever, a manifestation of something. And anything can show itself in all kinds of weird ways that you can actually only see if you stop clinging to the idea that you know what's going on. Because I despise people who have read a lot of books and that just walk around living their life like they know, just because they've read something, because they know nothing. I mean, Ram Dass, I'm just gonna talk about him for a while, because who are we actually listening to? Sure, he's made certain experiences, but without his, what he calls a guru, which to me, is just a phony. Because, it doesn't really matter. I sometimes think, I would like to meet these people, and I think I've met them. I've literally met them. But I'm done taking teachings in the way that they want to give it. Because if you think you're my teacher, then I will make you my student. Right? Because I know how to accept teachings, and a lot of people, they don't know this. So I had to work really hard to make sure that people start listening to me, because the way they were living their life, to me, just didn't make an awful lot of sense. And if people start copying you in some ways, but I also copy some people, but actually I don't, because these are things that I've been doing already for a long time. I will not shave my beard. That's just something I have discovered for myself. Nobody can touch my beard. I mean, I just keep it. I just keep my beard because I need to have something that reminds me of, how much people want to make you, turn you into something else. So I have lived with people, and before I knew it, they were turning me into something else. Right? Suddenly I shaved my beard, and I had a mustache. And maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe that's what they liked. I still let it happen. And it's possible that the only reason I had to do this was to, so that whatever woman, could look at me and say, oh wow, I like him. but I mean, it's not really your job to yeah. I still allowed it to happen, right? I mean, sometimes it's just good to change a little and then to realize I prefer to be myself. I just prefer to be myself because I can try to be you, and then you teach me how to brew ayahuasca, and then I have to, learn all these stupid prayers or mantras that you use. Well, I don't use mantras. I just stay focused on the feeling of light when I cook. I just stay focused on these things. And when I feel like I'm starting to get really angry, well, then I work with that anger and I cook myself through it. And that's much better than to try to look like, you're really nice and, I'm really happy. I mean, you can't even cook when there's other people present. So how are you supposed to teach me how to cook if you can't cook when there's others around you? So what are you trying to hide? That's a very good point. And maybe it's just not meant to be taught, right? Maybe it's just not meant to be taught. Maybe you were being taught, or you just started to do it, and then you started to do it in the way that you want to do it, which is you use your prayers and you talk and you do all of this. But I wouldn't want to do it like that. And you probably sensed it. And that's the thing, right? If you want to teach me, you cannot teach me in the way you taught yourself. You have to understand that I'm not coming from a background where we use prayers. We just hold how we feel like, right? And then we try to, I work from that place. I'm just being honest about how I feel. And if you can't accept that, right? I was once in a ceremony. I did most of my ceremonies with the same people. Probably like 15, Jurema, ayahuasca, whatever. It was a DMT based with an MAO inhibitor. The shaman cooked it. It was very well made. I mean, you have to give him that. He did a very good job. He also used tamarind at some point. I mean, he was starting to experiment a little. And I actually got better. I mean, I thought, I could really make out differences between the brewing. I suppose I wouldn't add turmeric, but it's possible that I could make, right? It's possible that I could make a lentil soup. If cooked right, that would actually get you high. And said it absolutely right. You don't have to make ayahuasca, right? You just use what you have. I think I can make a chickpea soup that could make you feel better. Plus, I can also just, if I'm present in the room and my focus is on love, or I don't like the word love because that's all it is, it's just the word. What I like is facts. and not the kind of facts that science likes. You know, I like the kind of facts that science tries to hide, which is we have no idea what's going on, which is why, you know, people are miserable and angry and they feel shit. And sure, these people always exist. I just don't like whitewashing the reasons for the state of affairs, which is deforestation, which is flooding the planet or, you know, every living being with toxic stuff, and then still trying to act like, you know, science is really good. It's like, what are you trying to say? You want to tell me that science is good? I mean, haven't you been watching the same shit show that we all see all the time? I mean, haven't you been looking at the same thing that I'm seeing? And so you want to say that science is the answer to what? I mean, science is not the answer. Well, to me, it's just crap. And so is the entire, you know, like ambulances. Jesus, if people would know how to heal themselves, we wouldn't need all these ambulances. And that's of course why the system, you know, has an interest to make you forget how to heal yourself, because if you are relying on others for your well-being, you know, they can make money with you. So you give your energy to something that has no interest in your well-being, that just wants you to kind of stay alive so that you can, you know, keep giving out freebies. Oh, you know, I have a tightness in my chest. You know, let's call the ambulance. And then they come and they have to act now like they know what's going on, but they don't. Because they just, you know, it's like seeing a frog and then you dissect it and then you say, I know what this is, you know. This is clearly, yeah, what is it? Well, it's a frog and we classified it and that's why we know what it is. Yeah, but what is it? Well, it's this kind of species, yeah, but what is it? Just look at it without words and try to figure out what it is. Yeah, good job with that. The only way you can get there is by feeling like, you know, I'm the frog. And, you know, if an ambulance driver would ever be put in an ambulance and be treated the way people are being treated in an ambulance, he would probably stop. The only way you can convince yourself that you're actually helping people by being an ambulance driver or a doctor is by maintaining your position and just, you know, falsifying everything other people say. And that means, you know, but what's the thing about ambition? Okay, I want to be a bit lazy. Super. You know, I like reoccurring shapes. I'm starting to feel a bit tired. I'm starting to feel a bit restless. I'm starting to feel like I want to go somewhere else. But where? How am I supposed to know? You know, stop asking me ridiculous questions. And that's the thing, right? You can make a choice that's different all the time, right? You know, that's what I like. You can do what you like with your life. If you want to. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah. It's a challenge. It's a real big challenge. To be self-employed, to stay at home, to seclude yourself. You know, it's just repetition. To seclude yourself, to do what you think is right, and to keep going in a direction that you feel like is going to give you back your life. Right? That's your choice. If you want to make it. Right? It's just what I think. You know, my choice is to be true to my emotions. You know, I just want to do what I want to do because I know what I'm doing. Right? I want to know what I'm doing. And I'm happening on a large scale. Right? I mean, I'm happening on a large scale. That's all you can say about me. You know, who says that dolphins can't smoke? Right? I mean, maybe dolphins like to puff stuff. You know, maybe dolphins eat psychedelic substances. They probably know these things. And that's why, you know, I'm open to the possibility that there are things that, oh shit. I feel like I want to go back to bed. Well, then why don't you? Right? I can't be blamed for the way you feel. Right? If you don't like your life, then you have to change something. Right? And if you think like, I would love to be your wife, well, then you better pay attention next time. Because, you know, if you want to spend time with me, but you don't know what keeps me going, then, right, how are we supposed to work together? Right, you would have to know what my drive is in order to drive with me. And that's all there is to it. I mean, that's all I can say on certain matters. I mean, I cannot explain to you the colors that I use because what's the point? I mean, you could do this if you wanted to, and you could try to stop me. Or, right, suddenly this turns into some kind of fin. Right, sometimes I want to do things like lifelike. And sometimes I want to do them, you know, I feel nauseous, like really nauseous. I feel I'm supposed to do something. Maybe I'm just supposed to eat. And maybe I'm supposed to breed, right? Maybe I'm just waiting for a woman. You know, that's what I really feel like. Just actually waiting for a woman to come forward and to just take me in her arms, just like squeeze myself into the shape of a child. I mean, that's just kind of what it is, right? The woman takes you into herself and then mixes herself with herself, and then what comes out is, you know, new life. And that's then supposed to be beautiful, right? That's then supposed to be beautiful. And the question is whether or not this is actually beautiful. Right? That's the question. How beautiful is it really? You know, how beautiful is what I'm doing here? Well, one answer is not at all. One answer is not at all. And that's just simple. Very simple. You know, you say very simple. Okay. Okay. It says recently used. Check a board. Check the board. It says yellow. Yeah. Oh my god. Aha. Okay. And that's also something you have to deal with. Not everybody likes to talk all the time, right? Hmm. I just want to see what's going to happen to this if I change it. Okay. So there are fine differences in anything. Like this looks nice in my perspective, because it actually gives you something to work with. Like there are different shapes and patterns, and I think I like it that way. And it's always this, you know, you have to let it go down the drain. No. I never said I was here to make sense. You may assume that I'm trying to make sense. I'm actually trying to show you that it's much more liberating to simply accept that nothing really makes sense. And that's then what could liberate you from the idea that, you know, life is supposed to make sense. Sweet. Okay. I think we all got that. I actually almost liked it better the other way. Well, who says it's over, right? Who says it's over? Okay, so you check. Sometimes you just have to see how it changes things. Okay, for some reason I have the feeling it's better like this. That's just the feeling I have. Now I put this on top. I mean, in an image like this, it won't really change much. Actually changes nothing. That's interesting. Yeah. Sometimes all you gotta do is simply show that you're not bluffing. And because I feel like, I mean, bluffing, you know, people want to know, is he really what? I mean, questions like this already are so ridiculous. It's stupid, you know? I do something, you like it or not. You're being screwed anyway. Like, why do people need so much time to open up to someone? I mean, just think about it. 2056 posts on Instagram, which are going deep, a portrayal of myself, which get you to think about things. You know, at the same time I've written books, there are countless videos that show who I am, and people still are too stupid to see me for who I really am, because all they see is their fears. Like, oh, you know, what is he doing? There's a naked woman, you know, on his Instagram page. Yeah, so, you know, people are such cowards that you can intimidate them with anything. You know, you just have to show them, hey, listen, I'm a strong guy. And people already start shitting their pants. No, it can't be. You know. And you say Tetris is back. You know, why do I call it like this? Because you had a name in your mind. And you just said, you know, that's it. It's like calling your child. You know, does it really matter? You know, I don't actually mean anything with this. You know, I don't want to play Tetris, or maybe I do. You know, I can play Tetris with anything. You know, you just see a word, you know, it's like coming down, and where am I supposed to place it? You know, where is it gonna fit? Yeah, I don't have to play Tetris. I don't have to play Crash Bandicoot. I don't have to watch the OC. I don't have to do any of these things. But if the rest gets boring, then I would be a fool not to do what my intuition is telling me to, which is just do what you feel like. You know, if you have the feeling you want to do this, then why don't you do this? You know, that's the real question. I have more than 30 sketches, drawings that I still have to do. More than 30, all right. And that, you know, if it is nothing else, it's a challenge. What's this? Okay, so 2, you know, this is so much easier. I never thought that talking here, you know, I always thought I was supposed to do something else here. But all I had to do was just, you know, talk. Because as long as I'm talking, you know, I can actually stand here, you know. But it's just that I get so incredibly bored with, you know, just standing here. So I just keep listening to Chris Webby all the time. Or I listen to Ram Dass. But, you know, what if that gets boring? Well, then you're screwed. Right? So I said it once, you know, if psychedelics get boring, you're screwed. I actually say now, oh yeah, you see, I managed, you know, I smoke, I make art, I stay low. I don't get high like others. Raw art exhibit number, because it's not about being high all the time. It's about knowing what's right. Or something, right? It's about knowing what's right. And sometimes it's knowing what's right for yourself. Which means to say that, what do you mean right for myself? Well, like I'm just saying I could be going to the park today. But that's also where I received my injury. which says something about how I feel. Because to me, it's just really annoying if what is this? I mean, I just like being here. And if I'm not here, I'm elsewhere. I don't like people as much as you may think I do. You know, this actually is about gossip. Gossip, gossip, gossip. People gossiping. And I'm just gonna stay away from you until you learn that lesson. Because I know what you do, what you say, right? I just know these things. And I simply say, right, make art stay low. Just gonna stay low. Because I'm just wasting my energy on people that are literally asses that just take you for granted. You know, I need people that won't tell me, yeah, I'm a pretty good teacher, aren't I? Yeah, only because I learned to listen, because you don't know what you're talking about. You know, say, sorry, if you don't see my teaching in all of this, then what's the point? What's the point of engaging with you if you fail to realize that I have something to teach as well? I can't just be, you know, your I make you feel better thing. It just doesn't work like that. If you fail to realize that other people have something to teach, that's all there is to it, right? Like, you've got nothing better than other people. You know, that's like hard-earned wisdom. I mean, if you know that, you know, in a sense you don't know, well then what? Why does speed change this? You see, I like this. Now I have really jitterish lines. And then I can just I mean, time's really, really running now. Right? I mean, I do these images so well because I've spent hours, right, lifetimes, standing here, learning how to do this. This is like Gandalf, falling into the pit with the Balrog of Morgoth. I actually don't remember how it was described in the book. And then saying, I thought I was dead and then I was alive. I mean, if you've gone through things like this, what are you supposed to say? Sorry, but if you're too stupid to realize who Gandalf is, because you haven't seen him in a while, right? And that's basically what the Rings of Power talks about. Suddenly there's a Gandalf. Why? Well, because there's a Sauron. You need the counterpart. But, who's gonna know how Gandalf is really like if they don't let him experience things? And your true nature will start to show. Always. It's always gonna show. It's always gonna show. And I've started seeing people with a bit of precaution, simply because, things are really brittle. I mean, I'm trying to work here towards a life where there's children. So if you don't know how to behave, right? I'm not gonna take your shit for the rest of my life, That's what I said to the first woman who thought she could be my wife. I just said, wait a second, this is how you want to do it? No, right? Take a bite. That's literally what I did. I just showed her a little, right? You cannot boss me around. I'm never gonna do what you want because I'm here to do something. And if you want to be the one who makes the choices, then you're not getting, if you tell me you want a strong husband, then you better know that it probably takes a strong woman to have a strong husband. If you want a strong husband or you want a strong woman, well, you have to be strong first. But I was just getting bored of, having people tell me what to do, because I could just see in their faces and in their hearts that they just use words to hide the fact that they don't know anything other than what they show on the outside, right? It's like a father telling his son that, sex is really good because that's the last time he remembers, what nice is. And then the son reminds him, yeah, and for how long did you do that for? Right? It's like a father telling his son, of course, it's my own perspective now. Sure, I mean, a father telling his son to just, yeah, I always made sure I had something to play with. And then I say, yeah, and how long did you do that for? Right? Because let's say your father happened to become a father at the age of 23. Why, yeah, he didn't have much time to sleep around a lot. I mean, he stopped doing it at some point. So what he's saying is just, he just wants to feel like he's really powerful and, I did really good. Well, the fact is you didn't. You actually never taught me anything because you couldn't explain anything. Because you could say now you never had the time, or, right, I don't know. But there are certain things that I simply cannot learn from my parents. All I can learn from my parents, and that's like, is to simply, that's life. You know, there will be a child occasionally in every family, you know, that simply knows certain things. But you can already see how this child is being pampered and molded into a sick fantasy. And I'm saying it on purpose like that because I can see how mothers raise their children and then they're like, oh, you're the smartest, you're the best. Yeah? Sorry, have you met other people? Have you met other children? They're all the same. They're all the same. And there are differences, sure. I'm different than my siblings, although we were brought up in the same kind of background, but we weren't. Because every child changes the parents also, changes the whole scene. And that's what you have to be aware of. That if there suddenly are children in your life, let's say you first have one, this child, like most people do it, will be showered with love and attention. And then the second child comes. And then suddenly, attention is being taken away from the first child. The best thing you can do is include the first child in the raising of the second child, so that you make sure that your children know how to take care of each other. Because if you don't do that, children will just become really selfish. Which is why I think, I had my own bedroom as a child. This is a luxury I will deny my children. And I don't care what my wife says to that, because that's simply what I decide. And that means if I have a clear idea of how to raise children, how much have to I discuss this? Do I have to discuss this with anyone? I don't want others to make choices that are too big for them. And that's simply what I have to acknowledge for myself. That's what I want in my life. I want a woman that can stand behind me, that doesn't always have to be in the center of attention simply because I'm drawing the attention already towards me. And that only works to a certain degree, of course. But, I'm a very specific individual. And if I say no, I may mean it. And then I may reverse the no, but, I can't. I've met people and they just chuckled about me. I went to self-healing groups, not because I wanted their healing, but just because I had something to offer, and I went there with someone, and we went there to cook. And I've talked about this before, it doesn't matter, it's an experience I have, and I like to draw from the experience that I have made. And I cannot always just come up with new things also. So what happened, they thought I came, why, what is this, he doesn't seem like he needs our help. So they try to force it on me. Well, the result was me saying I will never ever go back to that place. Because to me, what they do there is just complete bullshit. And now the question is, well, let's say you fell in love with a woman. This is basically my position. I feel like there's a woman that will play a role in my life, and she stayed with these self-help people, at least for some time, right? I'm not sure if she's still there. And then the voice says, she's never going to be your wife. And then I think, yeah, I think I know that. But why do I keep saying it? Why do I keep saying she is my wife? You know, if I clearly try to act like she's not, because I don't want her to be it, right? I don't want her to be it unless she wants to be it. And there are certain rules in my life where I say, I just happen to be strong-minded, and you cannot change me. And I'm unwilling to listen to you because I think you have nothing to say. And that's tough, right? I just don't like being forced into things that I don't want. And that's what they did at this self-healing group, right? I came there, I just wanted to cook, and they tried to kind of do something with me. I've had this before, right? I was with a group of people, we took some MDMA, and one of these guys thought he was a shaman. I mean, he was obese. There are no obese shamans, because a shaman that's obese doesn't know how to heal himself, which means he knows nothing about the flow of energy, which means he cannot compete with a guy like me. And he was trying to heal me, but it just didn't work because that guy was just an idiot. He was high on MDMA and he thought, oh wow, I can heal people. Yeah, but you can't because you don't know anything. And that's what I sometimes have to teach people. Oh, you think you're a healer? I think the opposite is true. Just because you paid, for a course doesn't make you a shaman or a healer or anything. And there are weird people that I meet, that I've met on, sometimes people write to me and they write, they went to an ayahuasca ceremony and they already lost their shit during these ayahuasca ceremonies. And then they start taking iboga and they microdose it. And then they send you pictures of how they dance for their husband. You think, what the fuck are you doing? You're the most unattractive woman I have ever met. Why do you really think you're super sexy? Just because your husband loves you and can't get enough of you doesn't mean other men can. And that's what they, forget. They forget this because they get sucked into, and that's, maybe that's the same thing for me, right? Maybe I forget, but I don't think so. I have quite a level head. I don't easily, it's like Terence McKenna, despite all the stuff that he took and all the experience that he had, and, a giant audience listening to him talk about stuff, he always said, you're going to get two things from me, which is, my experiences and then the conclusions I make based on these experiences. He did like to read a lot, but he also kept making experiences. And I don't know, I start to kind of not like Ramdas anymore that much because I just really have the feeling it was just a giant setup. Like, he didn't really get. I think there was a reason why things happened the way, why Maharaji left. Because I think it just wasn't, it's like, okay, people aren't ready. Everybody's kind of fake. I think Maharaji was fake. This story that Ramdas tells about when he gave him the LSD and then Maharaji went through this whole phase of madness. And then everybody just thought, yeah, he was just making this up. But who says that? Maybe Maharaji was really losing his shit. Yeah? And he was really going mad and everybody just tried to pretend. Why? We're all the same. You still don't get it. You still don't get it. We're all the same. So I just stand up against people that try to act like they're better. Which is why when this woman came back to me once, you know, she just wrote me things, you know, like, oh, you know, I miss you or whatever, you know. I didn't really care anymore at this stage. You know, I was feeling really terrible. And she sent me a message on my birthday, and I was like, hey, do you actually know it's my birthday? And then we kept chatting, and then I told her, hey, but I miss you. And that's when I realized you cannot give women this. You know, that's what I really mean. What? Why is it getting darker? It actually isn't strange. It's just my perception. Things are getting darker. It's like winter now. I just let people shit their pants if they want to. You know? I just let people shit their pants if they want to. No, I'm not forcing you to shit your pants. I'm just saying, you know, if you want to shit your pants, you know, knock yourself out. But, wait a second. What? Sometimes I hate the way I do things. Like, really hate it. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I'm just saying it because that's a fact. You know, what colors am I supposed to choose here? Who fucking knows? Why does it have to have red eyes? Who knows? Who knows? Nobody. So just because you have a purpose doesn't mean you like it all the time. It just means that you know, at least, you know, okay, there's something I can do. And then you just keep doing it. And then as you keep doing it, you try to understand why you're doing it. Then you realize, well, maybe there's no real reason, or maybe there is. Maybe there's something that's working on you. Maybe the reason why you reject man after man after man is because either you're still clinging to a man that you met once, but that you feel like you lost, and because you're a coward, you're too afraid to reach out, which is when that man says, you know what, cheers. And that's basically my position. You know, I've met women. Yeah, I've met women. And I simply say, I'm not interested in you. And as long as you're a coward and you stay away from me, that's exactly what you're gonna get from me. Anger. And I'm gonna poke you with my anger for the rest of my life. Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to show you that you have no right to seclude me from your life. Because you were willing to sleep with me when we did. And that's my perspective. You know, we both entered into a contract, and you're a chicken, and I'm gonna spend my life sending you just anger. And that's what I'm going to do, because I mean, it's hard to say words like hate, but I feel a deep, 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 deep separation. No, I feel a deep, deep, deep loathing towards cowards. I hate cowards, which is why I actually hate, which is why if I would come to you and confront you with your stupidity, I would just hate doing this, and maybe I would love it. Right? Maybe I would love it. And that's something, that's just hard to figure out. Wait, did I know it was supposed to look like this? No. I did not know that it was supposed to look like this. But here it is, looking like this. Then you say, how did you know? Well, I didn't. I just wanted to see. Right, I just wanted to glow. I just wanted to grow. And here we are. And here I am. There you go, you take like this, and you say, You just do like this. Okay. You bring out what's hidden underneath. And you can do that with people. And you can do that with all kinds of things. All it takes is a strong foundation. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to select this. I want to do OK. I want to say filter, light and shadow, supernova. I want to place it at the nose because it's about smelling things, trying to feel why somebody did something. I know what he tried. He who rang the bell. He wanted to use me, and that's just the fact. To, get a better start with someone he likes. And that just shows his weakness. Like, he thought he was being smart. Now he has to suffer the consequences. Which is, yes, sorry, but if you're coming from that place, I'm gonna throw you out. There are other people who are doing this. And what do I mean with doing this? I mean, there are people who want to... Well, that's a really interesting concept. Is it not? It's a really interesting concept. But I like it. So in any case, Okay, this I don't like so much. Or did I? Okay. Put it on top. I'm just going to take this. Okay, put this on top, put this underneath, then just see. Okay. 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 Yep, so it's basically impossible to say what life is really about. All I can say is I don't know. I just think I like this. Okay. Okay. Yep. Let's just see when I do dodge. Just the same things, multiply. And then this. This looks nice. This looks nicer. But I want to do this and put it on top and say okay. You see, I really sense a disturbance. There's some kind of disturbance. Not sure what this is. I sense a disturbance like it's like anger. could be that it's coming from someone I want to avoid. No, I'm not so sure. There are bad vibes, and I feel like they're being sent towards me. And when that's happening, then what can you really do about it? Well, stay away from the people, right, that possibly want to harm you. Because, what does it have to do with you if they want to pick a fight with someone? It will only make them feel stronger. So I just let them bite out their teeth at other people. That's how I've done it for some time now. Which is why, I don't care if you thought we would have a thing together. Because unless I invest myself into it, if somebody wants to force himself upon you, how much can you really avoid it? I think you can avoid it simply by pushing him away with your spirit. If you keep living in the fear, somebody might come, that's just what they want you to feel. They just want you to feel afraid, right? I know how people are doing this by now. And, right, that's just all you can do. It's just all you can do. And I don't know what the disturbance means, but I have a certain feeling. Anyway. Cheers. I just wanted, it's a crazy thing, I don't want to stop this. But I also feel like I think I need a break. But I could keep going. And that's crazy if you think about it. But if you're just doing it, right, it's just normal.